Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 5th Annual Vibrant Living Expo and Culinary Showcase. My name is Sherry Soria, and I'm happy to see you all here today and to welcome our next guests, Matthew and Terces Engelhardt. Please remember to come to Cotton Auditorium for this evening's event. It's going to be a great event. And also remember that we have a silent auction that will be taking bids on until 10 o'clock tomorrow, and that's it. And then you'll be able to claim your prizes in the registration area between 11 and 2. Now I'd like to introduce you to Matthew and Terces. Matthew and Terces Engelhardt promised each other to live their lives together, following and trusting intuition. Following guidance, they created the Abounding River Game. Matthew and Terces then decided to create a place for people to gather, eat, and play the game. After 30 days eating raw foods, they were inspired to open the first Cafe Gratitude in San Francisco. The Engelhardts and Cafe Gratitude community have opened 6 Cafe Gratitude restaurants in 5 years. Gracious Madre, their new organic vegan Mexican restaurant in the Mission District of San Francisco, opens fall of 2009. Their Sacred Commerce presentation, which is coming up next, will include experiences from their lives, including their successful business model and the thriving community they've created. Please help me welcome Matthew and Terces Engelhardt.
Hi. Thank you guys for being here. And let's see, we're going to start with just giving you a little bit of background. It was great. Sherry said that the first Cafe Gratitude opened up in 6 years ago in March, so it's been 5.5 years. And just to give you a sense of that, so our oldest son helped us open that restaurant. We had 11 employees. I see people in the room who came in the early days. And today there's 237 employees and restaurants all over the Bay Area, and we're in an expansion period right now. So, today the opportunity is for us to really share with you about the business model of Cafe Gratitude, and there's going to be an opportunity for us to answer your questions. So, during the presentation, if you have a question you'd like to ask, just raise your hand, and there's a volunteer that's going to bring around an index card, and you can just write your question on that card legibly, and she'll bring those cards up, and there will be an opportunity for us to answer some of your questions. Okay? Let's see, what do I want to say about myself? Well, first of all, between us, we have 5 children, and we now have 4 granddaughters, and like I said, over 230 employees. And in the last year, we purchased a farm, and basically now we're farmers, and we're growing food for our restaurants. And that's been a big transition for us to move from the city out to the country. We live with 3 other people. And we're close to producing 35–40% of the produce that the cafes use. And yeah, it's a big accomplishment for us. We serve between 1,200 and 1,500 people a day, 7 days a week. And we love what we do. And really our forte is empowering people. You know, last night when someone asked us, I can't believe you guys are here. We travel quite a bit because we've really learned how to turn over our business and empower young people, our employees, to run the business. And that's one of the things that keeps me inspired. I actually used to be somebody who needed to do it all myself, and it feels so good to be able to really empower the next generation and seeing them step up into leadership role. For me, that's really a fulfillment. So that's kind of the direction that I'll be speaking from.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew. I always like to start when we address people and say that what we're going to present today is not the truth. Like, we're not in the truth business. We're going to present a particular view of business, or a glimpse of business, a glimpse of a business model that if you're interested in, we do further trainings. You can go to our website and see. We do 2 courses called Sacred Commerce to have this business model alive in whatever business you're in. But there's lots of views of business, and this is just the one that we've found that works for us. Okay, so there's nothing to argue with here because we made it up, we're clear we made it up, and it may work for you, it may not. The other thing I often like to say at the beginning of presentations is a line from a Rumi poem that goes like this: start some big foolish project like Noah. Start some big foolish project like Living Light Culinary Institute in Fort Bragg. Start some big foolish project like a raw food gaming parlor called Cafe Gratitude, or the UN. So in that boldness, there's some magic. Goethe said there's magic in boldness. And so I don't know if I'm speaking to prospective entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. There is magic in boldness because, we never thought that this business would go from 11 employees to 230, and now we're taking our third meeting in LA with investors who want to open 5 Cafe Gratitudes in Los Angeles in the very near future. And our question is not, we know that it can work in a sustainable model, is how can we keep the culture and how can we keep the sacred in the commerce? That will be our job. And so we're going to present a glimpse of this business model for you, and hopefully it'll pique your interest. So in our book, Sacred Commerce, we have a particular way of looking at business. There's a lot of talk in the sustainable business world called the triple bottom line, and we actually have a quadruple bottom line. And we've created an acronym, PASS. Does your business get a pass? Okay, and each one is an aspect of the business, and they all have to do with love. The first letter is P for profit. And that's love of the entity, of the business entity. Are you nurturing the business enough to make it sustainable? Will there be Cafe Gratitude tomorrow for people to eat? So that's the P, profit. You can't deny that a business needs to at least sustain itself. The second one is the A, is awakening. Does your business cause an awakening for its employees and its customers? Are people awakening to their authentic selves by coming to work? That's where we think we've specialized, and that's mostly what we deal with in our book, Sacred Commerce. The first S is sustainability. Does it have a loving, nurturing, sustainable relationship with the greater classroom, Earth? That's the first S. And then the second one is social, or what is that? Social. Service, sacred service. Does it cause a more just society for the planet, for the overall community?
Can people create for themselves service as a path of their lifetime? So
that's how we look at business, PASS, and we're going to now delve a little bit into the awakening part. That's the sacred part. And really, here's our business model. This is a little wacky, but our business model is really the Last Supper. We say that if we're living at that level of communion that we imagine the Last Supper was, if we're living at that level, if we're serving unconditional love at that level, people will want to come, people want to be in that space. I don't care if we're selling a deep-fried sponge. If the love is present, people will come. Well, our question is, how do we create a container in the business where people are safe enough, where people feel safe enough to heal themselves, to awaken, to be transparent, and then to give that away?
And, one of the things that people ask us is, well, how do you do that? And so what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to ask for a volunteer from the group here. And what I'm going to do is walk you through a short process, and I just want to let you know it's painless, so you can calm your mind a minute here. If you're somebody who would like to volunteer but might hold back, it's painless. All I'm going to do is ask you a couple of questions. And it's more powerful if you share deeply. And it's a clearing process, and this is the primary tool. It costs us on our balance sheet about $250,000 a year to clear every single employee before every single shift. And in the beginning when we started to do this, people said, you guys are crazy. And we were like, yeah, we know that. And
Foolish.
but for us, really being able, like I said, we're more in the people business, and eating great food is part of the people business, just so you're clear, that we're really growing healthy people, people who can think, people who can act, people who can step out of norms,
Leaders.
Stand for something, lead, cause something. You know, like I said earlier, we're in the phase of our life where it's about empowering future generations. So this process that I'm going to demonstrate for you is simple. The key is to do nothing. And that's not so easy for human beings because we're used to advising, fixing, changing, commiserating, agreeing, disagreeing. And you're going to notice that really I don't do anything. And that's the key to this process. And it's simply practice that allows you to develop your ability to do nothing. And this process is spelled out step by step in the book, Sacred Commerce. And just so you all know, there are signed copies of this book in the bookstore. And every one of them says something different. And so when you go to get your book, just pick one and consider that's yours. It's kind of a little form of divination here that I snuck into this process. And but it's spelled out step by step in there. And this is a process that we teach all over to different people who have utilized this in their business.
And the reason we do this clearing is because we have this absurd notion that it's only in the present moment where love can be given and received. That all the goodies live in the present moment. And so it's a way for us for our staff and us to get present. Because in the present, we can serve each other. In the present, we can be aware of present to gratitude and all the other divine qualities that we are, peace, tranquility, so forth.
And we say another really ridiculous thing to our employees. We say, bring all your stuff to work. Where, you know, historically and when I worked before I learned to work for myself, people used to say, leave your problems at home. I was a single mother of 3 children for 16 years, and there was a lot of stuff I was dealing with, and it was always, leave all that stuff at home and just come do the job that we pay you to do. We don't say that. We say, bring all that with you, because it's with you anyway. It's just you're operating on top of it. And we say, bring it and we'll clear it. And that doesn't mean we'll fix it or change it. All we'll do is empower you to be present, and then you'll be able to deal with it powerfully. We don't know how you'll deal with it, but we know you'll deal with it powerfully because you'll be present. And then the experience of Cafe Gratitude really is that our people are present and they're happy. And we get that people are suspicious about that. We know that. There's many great things that are said about us. A lot of silly stuff is said about us, and that's okay too. But people can be here, be themselves, and be lit up about the possibility of their life. And for me, that's the healing of the planet, is people being empowered.
So you want to ask for a volunteer?
So who wants to volunteer? Great, come on up. Thank you for doing that. Let's acknowledge her. So just come on up these steps here. We're going to use a handheld mic, and you and I are just going to sit here and face each other, okay? What's your name? Lori. Lori. Okay. So, Lori, here's the thing about this. The most challenging part is you just ignore them. It's you and me. They're just eavesdropping in on our conversation. And then the other thing that I just noticed is you need to hold the microphone really close to your mouth, okay? Okay, great. So first of all, thank you for volunteering, all right? And all I'm going to do is ask you a couple of questions. And then my request is just share as deeply as you're willing to, okay? Great. So just go ahead and take a breath and just let yourself get here and be in this big blue comfortable chair with me. You here? Okay, great. So the first question is, what version of something's wrong or something's missing are you listening to right now in your mind? Or what version of something's wrong or something's missing interferes with you being present in your life or recently has interfered with it? Just hold the mic.
I'm in a really life-changing stage, and I'm a nomad at the moment, and so I keep getting this message. I'm supposed to be doing something, I'm supposed to have answers on where I'm going next. but I'm trying to live differently than I ever have and listen to another place inside myself. But my old way of listening keeps coming, and so I get these like anxieties about where's my answer, what am I doing next, because I'm changing my life, my place I live, my job, everything.
So, Lori, here's what I heard you say, that you're in a life-changing time right now in your life, and that you keep kind of getting this old message of you should know what you're going to do or where you're supposed to go, you should have some answers, and really you're trying to take on listening from a new place, like really trusting your inner guidance, but you'll fall back into old patterns and feel like you should know, you need to know, and that distracts you from just being here, being present right now. Okay, great. So, just take a breath. So my next question is, when your attention's on that you should know, what's the emotional experience? How does it feel? How do you feel?
Really anxious. You know, my stomach gets in a knot, and I get like it's almost like I don't know what an anxiety attack is, but that's what I call it.
So what I heard you say is you feel anxious, your stomach gets in a knot. You're not really clear what an anxiety attack feels like, but you think that's probably it. That's what you call it. Are there any other emotions? Like, close your eyes if it's easier and just let yourself get present to that experience of anxiety and see, are there any other emotions in there?
I mean, worry, and a little bit of fear. And loss, like loss, like I'm lost.
Okay, great. So there's anxiety, and there's worry, there's fear, and there's the experience of being lost. Okay, great. So just let yourself get present to that for a moment. When your attention's on that you should know, you feel anxious, worried, fearful, sense of loss. And then once you can really experience that, let me know you're ready, and I'm going to ask you a second question. Okay, great. Just be with it for a minute. Ready for another question? So if I could acknowledge you for anything, if you could be acknowledged for anything, what's a way of being that you would love to be acknowledged for? Something you love to be acknowledged.
My heart. My heart is very big. And sometimes I don't. People don't see it. I don't show it. My heart.
Okay, great. So, Lori, here's what I want to acknowledge you for. I want to acknowledge you for being a woman with a big heart. And sometimes you don't even let it show. But it's back behind everything you say and everything you do and all the ways you communicate with people. Thank you for being in this day and time a big-hearted woman. Thank you for that. Let's acknowledge Lori. So I want to ask you a question. What are you present to right now?
I feel a little bit calmer. Like I don't need to worry so much. I don't know, my heart. Maybe I can feel it a little bit.
That's great. That's great. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
So here's what I want to point out. First of all, Lori, thank you so much. So what I want to point out is I didn't do anything. In fact, what I did, most of us would think is silly, is everything she said to me I repeated back to her. But consider that most of us in life are waiting for people to get how it is for us. And we say it over and over again. We throw fits, we get angry, we get upset, we leave, we come back again. We try to do something different. We move, we change jobs, we change boyfriends. But really all there is we just want someone to get how it is for us. Clearing is that opportunity, and what it does is exactly what Lori said. It creates peace of mind. You know, for me, I'll just share with you, I have the honor and the privilege of clearing people. And for me, it's like I create this connection that really I personally thrive on, that I'm always looking for, but we don't have these kinds of conversations normally in our culture. And so I always feel a little bit like I'm missing out. But one conversation like that, I'll see Lori, I may not remember her name, but I'll see Lori on the street someday or in a cafe gratitude, and the connection will be there. Because for a moment in space and time, we connected. And that's the power, that's the strength, that's the beauty of the Cafe Gratitude community. Now I see these young people, because most of them are young who work with us, I see them doing and being amazing things, expressing amazing things together, going out in the world and accomplishing and doing amazing things, working together, paying each other's rent, helping each other out at times of challenge. And it all comes from, there's a human connection now that goes beyond what we normally feel. And that's the space that our people can arrive at a table and say something like, would it be okay if I ask you the question of the day? And someone can flip out. And they're like, well, that's okay. Or they can say, you know, in Cafe Gratitude, we'd love it if you'd order by the affirmations. We know it's different, but we'd love it if you'd ask for I am happy instead of hummus. And the person can say, I'm not happy. I just want my hummus. And they can be okay with that. And they can come back to the table and say, you know, here at Cafe Gratitude, when you get hummus, you get happy. You are happy. Now, you just can't take anybody off the street and train them to do that. We're not training people to do that. We're clearing people so they can be that in the world. And what we're noticing is, I mean, we get discouraged. 230 people, 5 restaurants, 1,500 meals a day. It's a lot. Trucks break down. A lot of stuff happens. And where we look for our inspiration is our people. And you know, I can get moved to tears just saying that, because I can think of the beings, the young people in our lives that were so not the human beings they are now when we met them. Most of them weren't even hireable in a normal job. And we've turned them into managers of 50, 60 people. They've restored relationships with their parents. They've healed past, you know, wounds with people in their lives. They're inspired, they're lit up, they're managing people, they've gone back to school, they've pursued the arts, they've written books. You know, they've done some great things, and some of them stay in the company and they pursue management, and now they've helped us open restaurants and create more space for community. So that tool, what I just shared with you, yes, it takes some time. Like we said, $250,000 for us a year. It's priceless. It's priceless time. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So that trade, you can do that. You can do that with anyone. I highly recommend you do that with the people in your lives. And all you're doing is nothing. Quit fixing people. Quit changing people. Just recreate what they say. And then shift their attention so that people can actually get present to the amazing beings that they already are. You don't need to create people. Yes,
Sure,
anybody
please.
have questions written down yet? Any questions for us? Right on your index card. Whenever you have a question, hold it up. She'll collect it and we'll answer it.
So you can get that doing that for 230 employees a day is a big task, and all kinds of stuff comes up. Like, you got to be ready for tears, you got to be ready for all kinds of stuff. And it's as much training for the person holding space for the clearer, Terces' job, as it is for the person being cleared. But it creates this transparency in a community in which everybody feels safe. And when people feel safe, they can show up in a really, really particular way. You know, Rudolf Steiner said, unless you love something, it will not, unless you love something, it will not reveal itself to you. If people don't know it's safe, they can't fully show up. So clearing is just one of the tools that we train people in our Sacred Commerce workshop and in the book that creates that transparency and that safety.
And you can clear someone on the telephone. It doesn't have to be a face-to-face experience. And you can also clear someone on the telephone, and it's not a formal setup. They don't know you're clearing them. You know, your mom can call you and complain about your dad, and you can say, "Wow, Mom, here's what I hear you saying," and you just repeat what she says. How's it feel? How's that feel when your attention's on that? And then, "Mom, can I ask you a question?" And then you can ask a question. So one of the questions we have is, what are the 3 clearing questions? So there's lots of questions you could ask. The first one is really just designed to have people look at what's distracting them. The question I used is, what version of something's wrong or something's missing are you listening to now or have you been listening to recently? And then the second question is any question. What do you love about your life? On Mother's Day, it's what do you love about your mother? On Father's Day, what do you love about your father? What does your community love about you? How does love express through you? There's lots of questions. And then the fourth step is acknowledgement. And in this particular exercise, in the interest of time, I combined the last 2. And it's also powerful. You know, what would you like to be acknowledged for? Mostly, it's not okay to ask for acknowledgement in our culture. It's considered egotistical or selfish. You know what? No one's ever died of too much acknowledgement. Start acknowledging people. You can acknowledge people into existence. That's how we create managers. We tell them, you are so responsible. I say that to people who are so pierced and so tattooed and they've shredded the apron because they don't like anything that says uni before it, so uniform didn't work for them. And I say to them, you're one of the most responsible people I've ever met. Now, is it true? Yeah, down deep inside, behind the facades that we've created to protect us from what we think is scary in life, it's true. That's a responsible human being standing in front of you. You start acknowledging them, and what happens is responsibility shows up. Now, the key is you can't acknowledge to get it. That's manipulation. No, you just acknowledge, you let yourself see the divine in someone. You look past the facades. You look past your facade, the facade that you've created to protect you, and you see the divine, the amazing, the beautiful, the courageous, the brave, the responsible. You see that in people. You know, we've had employees steal from us. We've hired them back and promoted them. Now, how can that be possible? Because in our community, we can get things complete. Because they're not a thief. They stole something. In that moment, they were thieving, but they're not a thief. They're actually an amazing human being that we're somehow not present to a need that they have. And we apologize for that. And people come back and they clean up, you know? I mean, silly stuff, right? They just open the dessert case and take a super, right? They take a I am super, and then they feel guilty, right? That's not really working. And so we always say, you know, if anybody's taken anything from the business, this is your business, clean it up, get it complete, restore the integrity. And that's possible in our business.
Now remember, it's kind of a faith-based experiment because there's no evidence that clearing has caused Cafe Gratitude to expand and be an $8 million business a year. That's a jump. Lots of vegan restaurants and raw food restaurants have come and gone in the Bay Area, and we still stand. But it's still not proof that because we're doing this sacred thing, that's why Cafe Gratitude's in existence. It's always going to be a faith-based experiment.
In fact, we say that's the paradigm shift that we're in. We're moving from an evidence-based world to a faith-based world. So who's going to create the faith-based world? You and I are. And how are we going to do it? We're going to have faith when we don't. That's how you create faith. For example, for the first time in the history of Cafe Gratitude, the last quarter of 2008, we lost money. We lost $175,000. Why? Because sales dropped and we didn't cut labor fast enough. Why? Because we don't like to let people go before Christmas. You know? Well, it cost us to do that. And then we got, wow, this is like threatening the love of the enterprise. And so, we asked if people wanted to leave. Some people wanted to leave. They went first. Other people were laid off. They've since all been hired back. we've recouped all the money we lost and then some. We're now in a highly profitable, expansion-based view of business. But what we did, is that what you're going to share? Okay.
Oh, you're going to, okay. So
it's kind of one voice here and two bodies.
In our view of life, remember, not the truth, when times are tough and the flow isn't coming in, that's the time you dig in and give with no evidence. So here we are in the fourth quarter of 08, we're losing money hand over fist, and we say, okay, we're not giving enough. There's some place we need to give. So we did two things. We turned all our workshops, we do about one a month in San Francisco, into pay it forward workshops. You come, you reserve a seat on the internet, it costs you nothing, and then you can pay it forward at the end of the workshop. We did that. Then we also created a bowl called the I Am Grateful Bowl. It's a beautiful bowl of food. It's quinoa, kale, black beans, tahini sauce, and
there's a raw version.
Or there's a raw version too. And you can pay whatever you want. Sliding scale from $0 to $7. And it kind of ended the whole Cafe Gratitude elitist conversation, which was out there floating around. And so again, no evidence. What happened after we did that? Whole Foods came and said, we'd like you to be in Whole Foods Oakland. We'll give you this kiosk. We'll do the build out, and you can have it rent free for a year. Then these LA investors came and said, we want to open 5 Cafe Gratitudes all at once. Boom. We're going to raise this money. Boom. Okay, well, that conversation's still happening. What was the third thing that happened?
I can't remember.
Oh, no. Our landlord for Gracias Madre, which is our Mexican expression that we're coming out with, it's organic Mesoamerican food and a celebration of the divine feminine. And it got too expensive of a project, and we said to the landlord, we can't do this, it's too much. He goes, no, I want you guys, I'm going to come up with $175,000 in improvements on the building. So, again, no evidence, no proof, but this is the faith experiment that we keep putting forward, and we followed our heart, and here we are.
So here's another question that we can answer while we're at this is, when is Cafe Gratitude going to go to the East Coast? Well, the investment group that wants to open Los Angeles also wants the rights to Manhattan. So potentially that's in the making. And really, we still don't have a business plan. We really trust in our guidance, and when people request a restaurant, we say, okay, great, and put together a workshop. Let's come do a workshop. Let's see if there's interest in the community. We've been to British Columbia this year. We've been to Kansas City, and we're going to go to Philadelphia. So it's really simply a matter of a community causing it, because it is a community-built business, and it's a community-supported business. So really, there are no plans for expansion. We're kind of following Spirit. We're following Spirit expressing as any of you. Santa Cruz has been screaming for a while. We're now getting to extend down into the South Bay. Mountain View, Palo Alto. And then let's see here. How did we come up with the clearing method? So the clearing method is a combination of how we've really come up with everything. Is Matthew and I have, between us, over 100 years of life, 5 children, and we've both participated in a lot of transformational work. I came through the path of addiction and recovery, so that certainly impacted mine, and my recovery from addiction was a spiritual process. So for me, a lot of what I do comes from listening to whatever you call that voice inside of you, that when you hear it, you just know that's actually what I'm supposed to do. And that's kind of the process. And we've participated in lots of different, Matthew worked with a spiritual teacher for years. We both participated in landmark education. That had an influence. The recovery had an influence. So it's really a combination of lots of things. And then who makes the bottles with the words on them? It's a business called Spoken Glass, and it's one of the best friends of our son who does that business. And you can look up Spoken Glass, and there is a website for that. Let's see here. I think I got all those questions. When are you going
to open in Petaluma?
Yeah, that was in there. Healdsburg, support Healdsburg. Have Healdsburg thrive. And then You know, I had this vision one day that instead of just opening in metropolitan areas, we would kind of spread along and have them all be connected, so when the delivery van goes out, it kind of stops along the way. Healdsburg is our first experiment in that, is can we exist in a small community that's supported by people who travel some distance and people who come in from out of the area. Are there any other questions? Raise your cards. So put your cards up so we can collect those.
Well, while we're doing that, I want to do a little plug because today is the Sausalito Film Festival, and two of our sons with another foolish project with no filmmaking experience, no camera,
They bought
nothing.
a camera.
They bought a camera. Made a film called May I Be Frank. And May I Be Frank is a movie about a 300-pound Sicilian, very resigned, drug-addicted Sicilian guy who walked into Cafe Gratitude one day and said, "What is this about recovery? What's this about?" And the question of the day was that day, "What do you want to do before you die?" My son asked him the question. He's a manager. And Frank said, "I want to fall in love one more time, but who's going to fall in love with me?" And Rylan said to him, "Well, I got an idea. I think my dad will go for it."
That's Rylan.
We want to put you through the Cafe Gratitude program of changing what you eat and changing what you think, and change your toxic thoughts for true thoughts, and change your toxic food for real food, and see what happens. And we're going to document it for 60 days. And the film is extraordinary. The film is about what's possible when three strangers stand for another stranger's life. And it's moving. You'll laugh. You'll cry. Oprah's considering the movie for one of the first when she rolls out her documentary film club, which is coming up soon. It's a movie about recovery and restoration of a human being. And the reason we're peeling out of here as soon as this is over is because 5 o'clock that's filming at the screening at the
Sausalito
Film Festival, and we want to be there. So when that movie gets around the circuit, please catch it. It's moving.
Any other questions? Just raise your cards and we'll pick them up. Let's see here. So the other thing that I want to share that I think is a primary distinction in Cafe Gratitude business is we have a no gossip policy. And it seems simple, but yet most businesses, a lot of environments, gossip. And gossip for us is anything that diminishes someone else. And in our culture, that might look like I'm talking to somebody about another employee, and that person will say, "You know what, sounds to me like you should have that conversation with her or him." And it creates a level of safety where people really can share from their lives deeply. And again, I encourage you, whether you're starting a business or you work in a business or you own a business.
Or in your families.
Yeah.
Imagine if your families were a no gossip zone.
It would it just completely alters what's possible in a community environment. So I just want to say that's another tool that you could easily add. And the book is filled with tools, and we say, take the ones that work for you, leave the rest. But it's a great opportunity to incorporate some of these into whatever you consider your community, whether it's work, family, friends.
Okay, so a couple more questions. What do you mean by you have no business plan? Exactly that we never created a business plan and still have no business plan. We just kind of show up laughing and scratching and
serving people.
Now,
that doesn't mean we don't manage numbers. I'm the numbers person. I'm the Virgo. He's the Gemini. And it doesn't mean we don't manage numbers, but we play games around the numbers. And for us, it's really about serving, not so much selling. It's more about serving. But, you know, it's like if you had a guest in your home, if you don't tell them what you've got, you say, do you want something to drink? Well, or like, I don't know. But if you say, would you like iced tea or apple juice and fresh ginger? Or it's more about really practicing that. So it's not that we don't manage the business side of our business, but we don't have a plan like a trajectory, an expansion plan, or the business has so far exceeded any plan we could have ever made. it'd be outdated by now anyway.
Can we purchase this film, May I Be Frank?
You will be able to
You will
eventually.
be able to. It's mayibefrank.com. There's a little trailer that's quite funny.
I think it's mayibefrankthemovie.com.
mayibefrankthemovie.com. And then it says, I love you both,
we
Vinette.
love you
you
too.
too, Vinette. So, Sacred Commerce, I'm going to do another plug. We lead 4 workshops. We lead a workshop called The Abounding River, which is about creating money as a sacrament, having a whole new view, an empowering view of money. So if you suffer around money, I suggest you come do the workshop. The workshop is pay it forward. You can pay if you get something out of it and not pay if you don't. It's on our website, cafegratitude.com. We do another workshop called Kindred Spirit, Fulfilling Love's Promise. It's about relationships, how to be able to presence unconditional love in any relationship, under any circumstances. My favorite workshop, we play full out with you guys for 2 days. You'll be moved. You'll have a big tool belt to walk out of there, and it's awesome. Then we lead Sacred Commerce 1, which is a 1-day. We do it
Intense training
in San Francisco, but we can also bring it into corporations or your business. And also Sacred Commerce 2, which is more a 2-day. We more deeply go into the tools of Sacred Commerce.
And then what I really want to say right now is I want to acknowledge all of you. You know, this is the first time we've been at this particular presentation. We'll be back. I can look around the room, I can walk around here, and I can see that you are the people who are waking up. You are the leaders of the future. And I want to thank you. I know it takes something to change not just your eating habits, but it takes something even more to change your lifestyle. It takes something to shift and change your thoughts. And sometimes I know that journey can be lonely, and I thank you for being people who are creating this more as a community function rather than as a solo opportunity. And I want to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for your support of us, your support of one another, and what you're going to be doing in the world with the information, the knowledge, the experience that you're getting. And what I'd like to encourage you to do is trust that intuitive voice. Trust that. No matter where you are in life or what you're facing or what you're dealing with, that intuitive voice is a way to everything you've ever wanted and the fulfillment of your life's purpose. So I highly encourage you to trust that.
And what I would like to leave you with is, I have a saying that says, lean into the discomfort. Safe is a sedative. Get out on the skinny branches of life. That's where you're alive. You know, there's live food causes aliveness in life. So does taking risks and being bold. So get out on the skinny branches and put yourself at risk. That's where you'll be alive. Okay, love you guys.
Thank you, guys.